Welcome to B-Flicks, your gateway to inspiring stories and meaningful conversations. Dive into a world of creativity and growth with our collection of short films, real-life documentaries, and engaging podcast episodes. Whether you're looking for personal inspiration, entertainment, or a deeper understanding of life's journeys, B-Flicks has something for everyone. Visit our website at www.bflix.co.za to explore our content library and subscribe for more updates. You can also connect with us on Facebook at B-Flicks Live. Start your adventure with B-Flicks, where stories come to life. The Queen is in the house, and I am so excited to finally have her on the show. You know, we come a long way. In my first 2 years in Randfontein, she contacted me and she believed in my gift so much that I was privileged to record her first. Was the audio CD where you gave teachings and encouragement.
Align with self.
Yes. So I was so honored to be part of that project, and it's about 10 years later, and she released a book, and that's the reason why we are here in this moment right here. This is the ReGen Show with myself, Brian, and I thank you so much for those that are subscribing. Please share these videos, please share these links so we can all have the info that we need, because Born to Move is one of those that we added on our bucket list. No kan ons dit aftik and say we've done that. That's why we are here this morning. Before we do that, who is Sonia? What's your maiden surname?
Yankees.
Vorster.
These are Yankees.
Is the R in Vorster silent?
Vorster.
Vorster. You be saying Vorster.
Yeah, Vorster. Because many people will write it as Foster. Like V-O-S. And I know the Americans.
I know Foster.
Yes, Americans will also say Foster.
Foster. Oh.
But we had the R in. I was laughing for my brother-in-law the other day. I was like, I saw on your armbands, like your wristbands, they put Foster and where's the R? I'm like, okay, it's the same thing. They made a mistake. They made a mistake, but it's still the same thing. Foster.
Now I'm used to this one. I know this one. When I moved here, I was like, what happened here? I was wrong from the Free State, because this one comes from Harties.
Harties. Because there's a hospital in Hartswater. It's named Connie Vorster Hospital, and it's also spelled like this with an R.
Oh, with an R.
Yeah,
so it's originally
we like, you know what? It's our hospital.
But man, it's such an honor to have you on, Lady Sonia. You are known as a coach in the community. You've been saving lives behind the scenes. A lot of people can attest to that what you do on the front lines. But there's a lot of work that I know of that you've done behind the scenes, and we appreciate you for that. And you also went behind the scenes, and based on all that, you put together something. We want to know, who's this girl on this picture? Who is this girl? Where are you born? This is like 50 years ago?
How many years ago? I'm 51 now.
51 now, you see what I'm saying? So take us into that.
The new 15.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was born in Alexandra. I always say to people, I am from Johannesburg. Don't call me Afspringer. So I was born in Alexandra in 1974.
Sure.
Alexandra's next to Centon. So please. Check it out. So yes, I was born in Alexandra in 1994, and my mom and my dad were still together. And I just always said, I don't know, but I think based on the uprising of 1976 or so, there was a lot of things happening. And my mom actually took us to Hartswater, to my grandparents. They were staying in Hartswater.
Okay.
So my mom took us to Hartswater, to my grandparents.
Yes.
And basically, according to my grandparents, my mom said, okay, I just bring the kids for a while. I'll come back and fetch them. And I was 4 years old. My sister, Annelie, shout out to my sister. She was 2 years old. And they actually left us there, you know. I don't think you have tissues here. I always get emotional when I reflect on that and I speak about it. So they never returned back. They were gone. They were gone. Parents? My parents. So we didn't grow up with my biological parents. We grew up with my grandparents, and they also, rest in peace to my grandmother and father.
Yeah.
And so that is where my whole life started to unfold as a child,
Okay.
in the dusty roads of Hartswater.
Okay, wow.
And some dusty streets still there.
Yes.
But that is how my life unfolded, and I grew up in Hartswater,
Yeah.
in the small town.
Sure,
And yeah.
sure. So that's such a beautiful story right there. And as a storyteller myself, ek vang my tips.
Yeah.
So if you see something on a video that aligns with your story, yeah, moet me nie laat vang nie asseblief. But these are the things that we learn from, you know, the real stuff that people go through. You understand? Because somebody else would now feel like, no, jy daarom nog iemand gehad where they could leave you. I never had anybody. I grew up on the streets, but it still hurts because you were already connected to these people.
Exactly.
To a certain age. What age were you when they dropped you?
I was 4 years old,
Sure.
Pastor Brian, and what I've learned from my grandparents, as I mentioned in my book somewhere also, is there was a language barrier, because now we've grown up in Alexandra, and I'm not even sure what language was it. Was it Zulu or Tswana or Tswana or Pedi, whatever language. But my grandparents were saying we couldn't express ourselves to them at that stage, at that age. So already that was for us like really a difficulty to blend in with my grandparents.
Where were they originally from?
My grandparents.
Yeah.
They were originally from Hartswater, but also
they moved here to also come and...
Yes, they were there in Hartswater. So that is what I know of, you know, small towns around there, Winsington and so on. So they've all moved like from Oukas to Noordhoek. Hartswater was first Noordhoek.
Wow.
Pastor Eric reminded me the other day. It was Noordhoek. Okay.
Yes.
So that's why, So I remember we were staying in a site where it called Club Reinke. So Club Reinke was more like where the brown people were staying, that is not a lot privilege, but then there was other part of the street where you know, my husband and them were staying. They were like a little bit the ones that have a little bit stuff with bricks. The houses was with bricks. Ours was like cuckoos, you know, a Zankaiser. So that was the early ages of that I can remember on. Always my grandparents will relate stories to us around it, and my aunts, you know, because they were like the ones also assisting, taking care of us.
So you lived your most of your life in Hartswater until what age? And you got married and you moved to Gauteng. When was that?
Okay, I lived until primary school. No, until grade 9. I think it's now standard 7. Is it standard 7?
Grade 9, 10. 7,
8, 9, 9. Grade 9 now, but that was standard 7.
Grade 8 is grade, standard 8 is grade 10.
No, grade 10, grade 8 is standard 6.
Standard 6, yes. There you go.
So I was, my whole primary school years, up until grade standard 6, standard 6, grade 8, I was in Hartswater, then standard 7, I attended school in Jan Camp, which is 20 kilos from us, and we had to catch the bus. Ons het met bus getravel het op en af. So early in the morning we had to wake up and go with the bus to Jan Camp door. So that 7 I did grade 9A, and then I failed grade 9. Yes, so that I was basically in Hartswater up until grade 9. I failed. Then I asked my grandparents, you know, is there other place that I can go to? And I went to grade 9. I actually start grade 9 in Richie. Kimberley. My cousin know actually people there, and they, you know, ask, can I go stay there because I just want to do grade 9, repeat grade 9 there. So I actually mentioned it in the book as well. Sure. So after that, Pastor B, I actually moved high school to Potchefstroom, which I also mentioned. And
you moved closer and closer.
I was closer and closer. Yes. You know why is the book Born to Move?
Wow.
Because of that.
I
was always on the move.
Wow.
And the reason why is like Pastor B is I believe it was like the God intended purpose for me to always try my way to navigate myself through life. You know what I mean? Because growing up, not knowing who you are, having all this confusion, you always have to find a way to see how you can become better in different ways. And that's why the moving was for me so imperative, and to see and find myself, this little girl that is so confused.
So then did you meet Pastor Johnny in Potch? Or where did you guys
In
meet?
Aswater.
Oh.
So normally what happened when I was high school in Potchefstroom, everybody that was attending school outside of Hartswater,
Okay.
the children that was attending, we all meet together during school holidays in Hartswater. You know, we coming home, we like, come the guys
I remember that.
schooling in Joburg and so.
Come to think of it, that was a thing in the
That
past.
was a thing in the past. Exactly.
Wow.
And that was so nice.
Sure,
So school holidays, we all meet in Aswater, and then we're excited to see each other and so on.
I remember I was with was it 3 ladies from Tukis in my class. Never knew I was going to live in Tukis one day.
For real?
Sharika de Jager is one of them.
Okay.
And she would always on the Friday of a month end, dan sal sy bijvoorbeeld sê, Lucretia, ga je Tukkies toe? Die naweek. And I was like, is Tukkies a town? What is it? Is it like a dorp? I never knew it's a community inside Randfontein. So that's how I came to know about Tukkies. I never knew that years later.
later.
So yeah, those years were nice because
It was very nice,
awesome.
Pastor B, because I was like at a boarding school in Porch, which is also loaded in the book. I was in a boarding school, and then when we met in Aswater school holidays, that is where we connected. I was actually with somebody else. I van my lekker afgevry van iemand af.
Oh, jylle.
Ja. So you must edit that.
I don't know how am I going to edit
I'm joking. You can have it. It's real talk.
That's amazing, yeah.
So I
Okay.
was like with somebody, you know, the school lovers thing.
Yeah, true.
And then I was in my grade 10, which was standard 8.
Yeah.
And now as grade, no, we already met before I even went to Porsche, because why I said so, in grade 9 he went with me to school the day I fetched my report card, and imagine your boyfriend is with you and you failed your grade 9, and then I was like, it's because of you, guy. But it wasn't because of him. He was like, no, don't worry, it's on the end of the road. So yeah, but yeah, man, I think it was also a divine.
So was there like a gap in your life, and then you met each other again, or was it like you've always seen each other?
Yeah, it was like there wasn't really a gap. It was like, okay, I moved to Richie now to continue grade 9 there.
Okay.
So we were staying in contact. You know the letters?
Oh, you were not
time, man. He wrote letters like day and night, you know. I was receiving letters all the time.
That's the journey.
Yes,
nice. That's amazing.
So yeah, and he was always ahead of me. So he was like, when I was still in school, I remember when I was in matric, he was already working.
Yeah.
He was working like 2 years before me, because our age gap is like 4 years apart. So what was nice about it, he was playing such a vital role in my life by supporting me and helping me actually, because at the times my grandparents couldn't anymore. While I was still at high school in Port, you were like, if my grandparents can't send me the telegram, 50 rand telegram, he will be there, you know. Yes, sir. So I was like the guy's project, you know. He's so invested in me, and yet today he's reaping from his investment.
Sure, that's amazing. Weird question.
Yes.
Why are your children so young? Did you guys plan it to say, ons gaan wag? Because I know 50-year-old people that has older children than your child.
But you mean young son. In...
Like, yeah, that's amper.
Jade is like 23 now, Miles is 26.
Yeah, but...
But I planned we planning. Yesterday, one of my colleagues was like asking me also, so now how old were you when you got married?
Yeah.
Like, I was 23 years old.
Okay.
Because my husband was there in the office to come and fetch me, and it's like, how old were you guys? I said, we're married now for 28 years. And they're like, okay, your children? I said, okay, I was 23. I got my first child when I was 25. We planned that. We planned it. And I said,
is this now Miles?
That is Miles, yeah.
Oh.
And then on 27, I've got Jade. And that is how we plan it. We
it's
want
not bad.
children.
Why does it feel weird? It's
Why?
not bad. It's almost the same as us.
Really?
Because my second born was when we were 30. And our first born was 26 when we were 26.
Yeah.
Besides the one that I met my wife with.
Okay.
Why did I ask that question? But it just felt weird because I heard like you were 50 last year.
Yeah.
I saw on Facebook and I was like, okay. How old were they planning? No, let's start our lives first before we make children.
Yes, we literally were 2 years married before we had Miles.
Okay.
And that was so amazing. We could still spend our monies ourselves. We really planned it. And I think, Pastor Brian, the privilege that I have now is I can grow with my children, you know, and now you must understand also, I didn't know how to mother. because
No,
I didn't have a mother.
Sure.
I was like, I
Yes.
had difficulties. I first didn't want children because I
Oh.
was like, look what have happened to me. My mother
I
have
hear
rejected
you.
me. My mother have left us, you know.
That's-
How will I know how to take care of children?
I thought.
It's so important to be able to focus on what you are doing and concentrate on what you are doing, because like I say on a golf course, there's so many distractions.
When you write on your own, that is how you feel. And sometimes it doesn't work in the real world.
Yes.
So it's been a challenge
Sure.
because ons is gewoond aan wat ons ken. And if you come, you introduce something, it's like, we don't really feel this thing.
I went on YouTube and I spent about 6, 7, 8 months to now learn how to make my own beats. You know, the mixing and mastering, the penning, and I have to learn the stereo and the mono and all that. Allerlei klomp technical goede, you know.
There's times where you need to stop the worship team and say, guys, what are we teaching you if you cannot bring it forth in song? Are we really as connected as we say we are? So we heard with the golf, there needs to be discipline. Spiritually, discipline comes from the word disciple. What does disciple mean? It means someone that is being given completely to a system of teaching in a way that informs a lifestyle.
I all along felt like I was really in a jail, not in a physical jail, but really in a jail of emotional turmoil, spiritually not knowing who I was. And like I said to you, is I was like, identity-wise, who am I? You know, am I colored? Am I brown? Am I black? And like I said also to you, rightfully, I've received so many racism or maybe remarks from my colored fellow brothers and sisters because my skin color.
I've heard a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, my
from
skin
people.
color
Yeah.
and my hair texture
True.
and my language.
Yeah.
I you know, not speaking eloquently. So it was struggles, man. It feels like jail moments,
Yeah.
you know.
And
So
it's the same like our Tswana and Sotho family members, especially the older people
Yes.
that moved from areas where there was predominantly spoken, where they spoke Tswana and Sotho.
Yes, yes,
When they moved to colored areas, like people in my church that I know of, they would resent, or what's the word? They would reject
Yes.
Tswana
True.
just to be different and speak Afrikaans, but not. They know that's who they are,
That's
but
right.
because of the treatment out here in the
That's
streets,
right.
they now have to now change themselves and now try to speak. Now you find a light skin person that is more accepted because of appearance, but when they open their mouth, it's different.
True.
Now you get a darker skin family
That's
member
right.
or sibling
Yes.
that's now treated different. And like,
Yes.
are you really family with this guy?
Yes.
You know, it's all those things that you guys had to face, and I'm not
Exactly.
sure if it's still like that nowadays.
I don't know, Pastor B, but I still face it because I'm Sonia Vorster. Now this worse, right? So many times students will get to my door
Yeah.
in the office and like, we like to speak to Sonia Vorster. I'm like, I'm Sonia Vorster.
I
You
can
know?
imagine.
And so I
And then you spoke with them over the phone.
over the phone.
So they can't pick.
They can't pick
voice
it
to
up.
the,
Yeah.
pick to the
So
face.
I have the tendency of telling them nowadays, don't worry, I'm married to a white man.
Yo, that's
Just
it. Yeah,
for them,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I'm like, what? How?
And they're
in
like-
today's
they're like-
society, how much more?
That's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
But I think my growing in Christ, my
Okay,
growing in
okay.
self, have allowed me to no more feel
Yeah.
resentment.
So it's still there, but
It's still
you had
there,
to. You found
but
a way.
I found a way. I
Okay.
found a way to navigate
That's
now
powerful.
into a positive.
Yeah.
And no more the negative of the dub that I was in.
Yeah.
In my identity,
Yeah.
feeling I have low self-esteem. I was not this confident as I am today.
I can believe
know
that.
what
I can
mean?
believe that.
I
Yeah.
was not. When people were in a room and we'd speak about growing up and parents and birthdays, I was always a little bit behind, you know, don't say a lot, you know,
Yeah.
try to make jokes about some other things because the hurt was so severe. The pain was so severe, Pastor Brie, because you realize that
Sure.
you have to portray things sometimes that was never there. You know what I mean? And that actually today when I relate my book or my story to people, I don't want them to see me showing up just like this now and think
Okay.
I was all this,
Always,
you know. It wasn't always like that.
I buy Facebook house.
Yeah. And but I have to find my way through.
You had to, and since we are on that, you know, it's where like the first chapter that says Genesis moment, who am I? And I think this is what you're literally saying. Question I want to ask is how did your husband handle this? Did he obviously he knew about it, obviously he saw it, and so on. He's a bit lighter in complexion.
Right.
Was he accepted much better than you were in certain circles?
Yes, I must say, but what I like about my husband, he was always so, you know, supportive.
Okay.
He was never let me feel like that.
Yeah.
Even him and his family, you know, they're all white skin and light skin, and they were always so welcoming. And that actually helps me also to find my true self with him, because he really, you know, whenever he will not let me feel like that. He will always make a joke and say, my wife is from the Black Vorsters. But she is a Vorster. But yeah, like I said, I think the support around you sometimes, when they embrace you, it becomes a little bit lighter. It becomes a little bit lighter. And like I said, over the years, he was very supportive. And
Yeah. Can you say that at some point in your life, especially with social media, at this age, like you came to know social media maybe about 10-15 years ago.
That's right.
You understand, you were like 35, and then was it also part of trying to prove who you are? Was it still in your life and in your heart, like up until now?
Yeah.
Everything that you're doing, the books, the podcast and all that, you're co-presenting on shows.
That's
and all
right.
that. Can you say that you can one still struggle with it if they don't deal with it in terms of their identity?
You know what, Pastor Brian, like you said, in the beginning of in that ages, still it was a bit still there. You have to prove yourself, because now you're having the scars. Like I was talking about the scars in my book.
Yeah.
So you have the scars of rejection. You have the scars of low self-esteem.
Yeah.
So you must show up in a way now that you prove something different.
Exactly.
But later on, you know, finding myself through attending life coaching training and going through my life and putting the past away and living this new life, I just show up as I want to be.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore, you know, whether you are gonna say, oh, you know what, you are black, or you colored, or you think you colored but actually you black.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So I just show up. And if my circle don't appreciate that, if my circle don't accept that, then which means I'm not supposed to be in there. So that is how I found myself, especially now on social media also.
Yeah.
I just show up.
So now the coaching background, was there also a need in you going into that before you became a coach yourself? I know you were at sessions with whoever, you know, helped you with this. Was it like a need for you to also find yourself, and then you, in the middle of it, you were like, okay, I can also become one? Or you started speaking to one person and they were like, Ish, you should become one. Where did that happen? Was it like
I like the way you structured it. It's so amazing. Yeah, Pastor B.
Okay.
I didn't even know I would be a coach.
Okay.
So I went for help for myself. I went for coaching. I paid the amount. It was an enormous amount, but those years already. So that's why people don't understand when you charge for coaching, because you paid for it.
Okay.
So I went for training. And there I came. I'm like, I never had in my wildest dream of mine that I will become a coach. So I just went for coaching, and we went through the sessions. The coach went through the sessions, and the penny drop was to be on the timeline. That is part of your past, where they speak about your timeline. You see on Facebook, we always talk about timeline. So the coach take us through the timeline concept, where you were, where you are, and where you're going through.
Sure.
And I had my breakdowns during that session, and I realized I messed up.
Oh.
What I'm doing and what I'm portraying is two different things.
Okay.
I just show up as a fake because I have so much baggages in my life.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
I have never let go of the stuff. I've never let go of the hurt, the pain, you know. And then I just show up. And by showing up, sometimes I hurt other people in the meantime. I also maybe, leave scars with people because I have not been healed. And when after the coaching, I've been through I still didn't say I'm going to become a coach. But after the coaching and attending the training and went through my material, did all my concepts and my techniques, and I gave myself time to heal. I promise you, Pastor Brian, I said to myself, now I can't keep quiet. That I've been healed, how will I keep quiet?
Yeah.
There's so many others they also been through this.
Sure.
So my case is not special.
Yeah.
There's others that also. So Lord, make me available then to assist others.
Yes.
And then I start venture into becoming a coach.
That's amazing.
And for me it was like it was the best decision because while coaching others, I just still found my healing.
Yes.
It's continuously.
Yeah.
And while I was speaking to others, coaching them, my healing is also just continuously coming. And I have become whole in that process. Because at times when I was coaching people, I was like, oh, I thought I've helped with this. And it came up again.
Yeah.
And then I became whole. I became better. That's why it's a continuously moving. It's a continuously getting better. It's never stopped.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Oh, sorry for this.
So no problem. Look, I wish I had something.
No, it's fine.
And my tissue's great next time.
Yeah. I don't think you have a lot of people crying.
I think for the female. It's a feminine thing.
Okay.
I'll get Kleenex.
No problem, please.
So now, what you saying that now? Somebody. The guy I'm working with now, Tapelo, I think you know him.
Yes.
The guy who's been clean for 7 years now, and we're doing these programs. We're going out, outreaches and so on through this, and he's trying to help other the drug addicts that are still caught in that. And we're having a program at prison, at Krugersdorp prison at the moment, every Wednesday. Our second group is now going to graduate in 2 weeks' time. So now, every time he opens his speech, when he does a session, I said in the first few sessions, and I said before I present, because he asked me to come here, I'll present.
That's right.
I said, okay, before I just want to hear how you do it. I don't have to behave what you have background wise and all that.
Right.
And he will open with, by doing this, guys, I'm helping myself. That's so profound. And it took me immediately back to, I used to work at one of the schools in town. You know.
Yeah, I know.
And so I started as a I was the guy who runs the assembly.
Right.
So I was like the pastor of the school,
right,
the
yes.
young youth pastor of the school, and it was amazing. So everybody, like the children that the teachers are struggling with, they would refer them to me and all.
That's right.
And it didn't just end there. I thought it's just bullying and rebellious spirit and all that. One morning I just came in. We started 7:30. 7:30 I had my Oma biscuit of Segedrecht with my coffee, and I just wanted to dip it, and I heard Pastor B, you have a visitor. I was like, so vroeg. And the young boy came in, and that morning I left my house on a level of argument. I felt like walking out of my marriage. And I said, ek wil niks hoor, ek soek nie counseling nie, geen pastoor gaan my nou help met die nie. I'm done. Like, when you get to that level.
Yes, true.
I
agree with you. Yeah.
Ek is an motivational speaker.
That's
Who's going to tell me
That's
what?
Right.
And she doesn't want to hear all that, and so on. Ek kom by die school and ek sit daar. Ek sê vir myself, after the school, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 and 4. This young man came, he sat down and he started crying. And I'm like, oh, okay. I have to wait. I'm waiting for him and I'm like, okay, whenever you're ready, sir, no problem. And his first thing that he opened his mouth was, my mom and my dad are gonna divorce.
Wow.
And I moment.
Yo, Pastor B.
I can't tell him, marriage is nonsense, my brother.
Yeah.
Moenie worry nie. This guy is crying like they told him that morning. Ons gaan skei my kind. And I feel like this about marriage.
Sure.
And I had to now repent in the moment. And coming back to what Tapelo always says, and you said, it helps you. So whatever we do out there, whoever is busy with a project, releasing a book, it's to help you. It's not just for somebody else out there. Wow.
Absolutely, Pastor B.
Sure.
Because I couldn't have put down my story unless I knew that I found healing now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continuously become better by releasing it. Because now you think, oh, what will people say about you now? You have put this and this and this in your book. You don't care. You're like, you know what? I'm getting my healing in you too. You know, that's why my book is twofold. It's not just my story, but I have the self-help questions so that every reader can reflect on their journey, on their story.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about me also.
That's
so,
amazing.
and that is what I like about it. It's like, it's always for the next person.
Beautiful.
Because that
Beautiful.
is why we're here for.
Double-edged sword.
We're here for
Yeah.
that. The Bible said we need to subdue, we need to
Yeah.
work the ground.
Yes,
We need to
yes,
multiply.
definitely.
And that is why we're here for.
Come on.
We are actively seeking sponsorship to support our weekly prison visits, outreach travel, food drives, and rehabilitation drop-offs. Every partnership helps us reach another life, another family, another future. Because behind every addict is a soul worth saving. Helping the Next Addict Foundation, restoring lives, rebuilding hope.
I'm worried about you losing you in this entire process.
Josh, you've earned it. It comes with more responsibility, of course.
Is jy ernstig? Is jy ernstig?
So hoekom wil jy my judge omdat ek my pen kan wegsteek soos jy nie?
Ek sê dan hou hom vir my. Gaan soek hom.
Sê net vir my een ding. Wat van jou suster se toekoms? Lisa, tell me.
Lisa,
Tell me.
But you promised.
This is amazing. I don't think we'll even touch everything
No,
that I
we
prepared
didn't.
because this is so real. This is so real, and I think that's where whatever you want to do in terms of your title, you're born to move. You won't go anywhere if you don't deal with what we're talking about.
deal with it.
What we're talking about.
You will remain stuck.
Yeah. You'll remain stuck. I remember. I don't know if you remember. In 2016, we were married for about 8 years already, and we just came to Randfontein, and I released a DVD about my wife's documentary,
Yes.
testimony.
I remember that.
Yes, it's still on YouTube. It's also on this platform.
Yes.
And people asked me whenever we went out to promote it in radio stations. People asked me like, "Are you comfortable with your wife saying all these things?"
Yes.
And the one thing that I told them was, it took me 8 years to grow over the fact that it's not about me.
True.
When you say in chapter 7, stuck in a moment, I'm not sure what the approach is there.
That's right.
But I feel that the only reason why we feel stuck, it's not because of resources, lack of resources. Why would I feel stuck? Is it
That's right.
sometimes because you want to, or is it because of what happens?
No, Pastor B, it's like stuck in a moment for me, based on my story in my book, was during the time that I was saying I was so stuck and I didn't know firstly who I was. That's why I was stuck.
Sure.
You know,
sure.
that's why I was stuck. I was stuck in a moment of rejection. I was like running around that. I was rejected by my parents. You know, and I was walking around with that face card all the time.
Come on.
You know, I didn't know better. I was just stuck with, I was rejected and that's it.
Okay.
So when people treat me otherwise, I went to my corner and I cry and I feel like I was rejected. So why would people keep talking to me? So stuck in a moment for me was like, as it become my personality.
Yeah.
Until I had to make a conscious decision
Come on.
and say, I am not my rejection. I am not what have happened to me. You know?
Wow.
So, and that's why I feel like many times we find people that remain in the position of stuck. Sometimes it's also maybe in grief.
True,
Yes, we don't
true.
say people shouldn't grieve,
Yes.
but people remain in that moment of grief and don't realize that moment of grief and the moment of rejection is keeping them so bound that they can't live their full potential. I would have never lived my full potential if I had remained in the position of stuck.
Yeah. And
I would
think-
have never. I
Yes,
would never have become.
yes,
I would have never have
yes.
sat with you today.
Yes.
Because I would have all along walk around with the whole stigma
Yeah.
around me,
Yeah.
been rejected by my
Yes.
parents.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and I wouldn't have to move forward. You know, after being stuck in a moment.
Yeah.
So that is really what I'm bringing out to the readers out there to say: don't find yourself being stuck in a moment.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that moment
Yeah.
can develop you.
Come on.
It can improve you.
Come on.
It can increase you. So you need to find your way and navigate your way out
Yeah.
of it.
Yes.
In
yes,
that moment of being stuck.
And a beautiful thing about it is the key word moment.
Yes.
It's a season.
Absolutely.
It's not forever.
Temporary.
And we treat it like, no, it's me. This is who I am.
It's gonna be
and
forever.
You're pushing something. You fail. Nah, I've heard it zal nooit regkom.
That's right.
People told me that.
That's
now,
right.
now those voices become real to you, and I think that's what I'm trying to get at in my question.
That's right.
Because we are creators. We are content creators.
That's right.
We put things together. We are story writers and tellers. But then something happens in your life. Now you don't even realize that you're stuck in the moment.
It's true.
You blaming a lot of things.
Exactly.
And saying, no, Kaiten wil nie daar wees vir my or what. Sorry
That's
to
one-
mention the name, but
yes,
yeah.
This one don't do this for me.
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
You
but-
know, Pastor B, for instance, I wrote my book now. If somebody have one bad comment about my book,
Yeah.
that won't not even stop me. You know what?
No,
that will like, okay,
no.
bring it on. What else?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I can go back to the drawing board.
Yes.
Let's fix it. Let's
Yes.
fix it. Let's move on.
Sure.
I will not feel like I'm a loser, of I have not done enough, or I feel less. I will not go back in my cocoon and feel like,
Yeah.
oh my word. I will never let that pressure
Yeah.
become my reality.
Come on.
Never.
Come on. No.
And that is what happened when we stuck in a moment. We let that thing become us. And we forgot who we are.
And those are the dangers of your comfort zone.
Exactly.
Because it's an area where you always run to when you can't face something. When you know, like especially when people, I always tell young people that stop avoiding things.
Yes.
You're gonna do that for the rest of your
True.
life. You've been a Mamuruti
Yes.
for many years.
Yes.
What were the struggles in that regard
Yeah.
with people? Because the church or the society especially had created this thing where people are afraid to talk about
Yes.
their real problems. What was your experience in that? And do you also mention something?
I mentioned just a little bit in my book about us being in ministry, and I didn't elaborate a lot on it
yeah.
because I feel like ek het net saamgekom, my man was geroep.
Hey, die vrou mense, my wife says the same
Ja.
thing. Like ons is saam in die ding.
Ek het saamgekom.
But still,
Yeah,
that
but then it becomes like really, I feel like during that time of us at the ministry, what I would actually say, Pastor B, the realness. People was never real enough. And I think in today's life, society is still there.
It's still there.
Children of God are not, they don't do the things, or not saying they do things for the reason that they are doing it. You know what I mean? So I find it very difficult during a ministry. Somebody will come to you and say, Mama Ruthie, I think it's my time, we move on. But they will give you reasons that is not the truth at the end of the day. So I feel like being in ministry those years, you've put so much in. You neglect your children. My children still today, they cross for things that we were never there for the netball games, for things like that, because it was about ministry. But I would say is myself being in ministry over those years, we had moments of great moments, amazing moments. I enjoy the church folks. I enjoy the relationships I had. You won't believe, Pastor Brian, up until today, there's people that was in ministry with us. We still have such a tight relationship. I can't point to anybody and say, I'm not talking to this one, I'm not talking to this one, we were in ministry. I feel like I oversee the negative, and I took all the positive from it. That we had amazing people, and they were listening to our voices. And even today, they still regarded me as a voice in their lives. And that to me stood out about.
I told somebody the other day, I don't care how much resources you have, and money is always the first thing that people gravitate to when they feel desperate, and now they have weird relationships.
That's right.
And I told somebody like, waarom nie veel geld daar is nie, you understand? When you take away all that, what do we have left?
What do we have left?
So now if the church kept you together, now the church is not running the way it used to, what do you have left?
We don't even have the ministry
That's what
anymore.
I'm saying.
We at Crystal
You see?
now, and we don't
You
have the
see?
ministry anymore.
Yes.
But the relationships.
Because that's the main thing.
Sure,
That's the
Pastor.
first thing, and I think that's we constantly define our connection with the building and with the organization.
True.
Whereby the organization can be seasonal. It can have a time where it stops. You understand? And a lot of I respect when people say as you kerk nie werk dan is jy nie geroep nie. I don't think that's just no. It's an organization in die eerste plek. As dit nie eens 'n as a mensgemaakte ding. You understand? I don't think it's so holy that that's why people will be like, don't sway in the building because it's church. Don't do that. No, it's a building. You understand? And
I am the church. I'm bringing me to the church building.
That's
so then it becomes
it's
a
just a
church.
corporate setup and meetup and all that. And I know if somebody else feels a different way about it, contact me. Let's talk about it. Here's the platform.
Yeah, come
You see what I'm saying? But the thing is, we've started using people to make the church look good instead of using the church to make people look good and bring people out of wherever they find themselves. Because also, we're not bad people. We're just broken people. You understand?
And we are misplaced sometimes.
That is it.
Pastor B, we are so misplaced because you find people that really have a gift and a passion, but they're just misplaced.
Yeah. So you are also saying here that there need to be purpose in my journey of life. And recently I spoke to some of the guys that we are also preparing to interview on the different shows that we have on this platform. And the one guy, especially with last night's meeting, a video call that I had, and this guy focused on purpose. He said, guy, I'm not clean for nothing. I can't sit back. There's a reason why you are still alive to tell your story. Why was it important for you to also put that in?
It was important for me, Pastor Brian, because as I first reflect back on the scripture in Philippians 13, verse 13, it says, Paul said, I don't hold myself as being perfect, but I have made up my mind. I'm just putting my Sonia version in, that I will stretch forth for what is ahead of me.
Come on.
And what it means for me, it was, I will love my purpose fully. For what God has placed me on this earth. And rightfully, I have believed that what have happened to me, the past, have shaped me for the now. And it actually contributes to my purpose of living my purpose now fully. And what is your purpose, Lady Sonia? Is the great command to make sure that my story transform, my story impact, my story change, not for my glory, but for the glory of God. So that is the purpose. And that is why I say to readers, it's important to live your purpose, purposeful life, daily. And to live a purposeful life, Pastor B, is not a Sunday morning, like you say, to church. It's not being on a podcast today. It's the way how you present yourself every day.
So powerful.
That's why I say to people, I sometimes don't view people's statuses because I don't know what I will find there, but I now and then do it. But I said, if people view my statuses, even in a day, there must be something purposeful for them.
Come on.
Because I'm loving
That's
purpose, my
That's it.
I can't just put stuff on there that is not going to add value. I can't be around people then I can't add value in their lives. Pastor B. So that is part of living a purposeful life. We should be intentional about what we do and who we are and our walk with Christ, our walk in this earth, our walk with people. It should be intentional and purposeful.
That's powerful. The booty character that I portray in social media.
I so love it.
And he's a great success. A lot of people love him.
Very much.
I speak like he's a third person, but it's not that person.
And you are booty.
You see what I'm saying? And somebody asked me, you need to release more content and all that. I was like, I have a problem with it. I don't want to be stuck in the algorithm to get more followers than produce nonsense. You understand? It's
you
not
touching
fair.
Something now.
It's not fair, man. And I love
true.
how you're saying it. When you watch my status, there needs to be something. You can't just
something
watch
solid.
it. You see what I'm saying? So now, Booty will not always have a positive message, but the love, the purpose of it is, somebody WhatsApped me the other day or inboxed me on Facebook and said, I came to the office this morning and I didn't feel okay, and I watched your clip and now I've got a smile on my face. Without saying Jesus, without saying anything, because He lives in me. The Holy Spirit lives in me. Whatever I touch turns into gold. It needs to be like, and I think that's what I get from Born to Move. Now the question there is about as a bietjie agterste voor.
No problem.
Why the title? Was it the first one?
Are we ending off with that?
Was it the first one that came to mind, or was it like the third one?
No! Pastor B, you won't believe it. It was the God one. It was the God-given one. And it was the first one. I can't even say to you, I have proof whereby I was workshop titles. I can't.
Sure.
I was like, it was like the Holy Spirit and God has really dropped it in my spirit. It's like when the publisher asked me, Sonia, what's going to be the title of your book? I said, Born to Move. She said, did you already, is it based on your things that you're going to note down? Or did you already decided it based on where you at now? You have moved?
Sure.
I said, no. I spoke to God, and I had the confirmation that I was born to move in my life, not being stuck in one place, but to continuously moving out of it. And moving is it's like a verb, you know. It's a working word. So you had to continuously work to continuously move. So I always say it's a movement. And like I rightfully have also now make reference to the scripture. I think that was my primarily decision on God want us to stretch forward. You want us to become more. You want us to be great. You want us to live a life in abundance. You want us to subdue. And how are we going to do that things? Not by standing still, but by moving forward.
Come on.
If you look back at, you know, what you've given in terms of yourself, and you get to a place where it seems like, oh Lord, I shouldn't have done this. It feels like you wasted your time. But then God shows you, no. I was busy working on you, and I'm still busy working on you.
I wanted to ask, how did you come back from that?
It's a process. It's a process. It's not something you get over completely, because there's so many ripple effects. There's many things that it affects. It affects your family, it affects your marriage, it affects so many things. That you get to the place where now you have to start over again, and you have to do it, and everybody needs to support you as if it's the first time that you start doing it. It's not the easiest thing.
So just a quick one, and I hope it's not uncomfortable. There was a rumor that you divorced when you went quiet, when we didn't hear about you anymore. But more on that when we come back.
As you weet as jy, before we entered into church with the procession, the same lady told me that by this time and this time, I'm just going to call you up and announce that you are now our new youth leader. And so by that time, I already stood up. Then they called someone else's name.
Yo! Well, ladies and gentlemen, Daddy, as je nog paste? Ik weet you om je de antwoord te weken. I don't know how to answer you. And I was like, why are you asking? He said, Daddy, Jay's not make sure sometimes. I was like, yo. So, in die mond van de zegeling, is daar iets? The back of the book, it says, discover the power of motion in Born to Move, which is the name of the book. A transformative journey that inspires you to embrace the rhythm of life and pursue your God-given purpose. I love the rhythm of life part. I think it's T.D. Jakes that mentioned and said, what we sometimes do, especially with the stuck in the moment part that we spoke about earlier, what we sometimes do is we frustrate God, because when He said, let there be light, He started a rhythm.
That's right.
And then when we remain in our comfort zone, we disturb the rhythm. We stop it.
There's no rhythm.
Yes. How can you add that to you selling this book? How is this different based on the rhythm that you're talking about?
How is it different, Pastor B? It's like, it's an invitation to my readers to actually, where they find themselves in a place of stuck, in a place of confusion, in a place of not knowing who they are, is to find that rhythm back and to embrace their journeys. And, to reflect. I want the readers to reflect not on my story, but on their stories, on their lives,
Beautiful.
and to keep the rhythm to move forward. So I would invite readers to say, you know what, it's I had my rhythm and I continuously having it, but throughout every chapter, after every chapter with a self-help question, it actually invites my readers and the people to say, you have a rhythm, continue with it. That's
One
right.
thing I also want to close with is you placed something in here, places in here where people can write, as you guys can see,
Yes.
Note to self and all that.
Yes.
What we doing with the program, especially in prison and even outside of prison, we ask people to write like 10 pages of their story, like 1 year at a time.
Okay.
And this one other guy in prison asked, what do you need from my story? And we said, no, we're not going to read it. We just want you to write it down.
Yes, sir.
He said, okay, why should I write it if you don't need it?
Yes.
It's like, no, it's for you.
It's for you.
Why was this important for you?
It was very important. Like I said, I incorporate my coaching skills. I've always thought of how will I find a group, or maybe a group of people to give coaching tools and to give coaching concepts. I was always thinking of that. How will I find a platform bigger? Besides 10 or 13 people, bigger platform to coach people.
Sure.
And I brought this in actually as a coaching tool. And also, like you said, it's a personal book. If you get your book and you answer that question, some of that questions is so hard. Let me tell you, I have readers that respond to me and say, I've done the book, but I can't face. I can't face the questions. I can't face to be vulnerable, to be honest, to answer that questions. Because it speaks volumes about yourself, not about me anymore. I've shared you with mine. I've been transparent. I've been vulnerable. I have been naked. I've been show my nakedness and my messy stuff. So it's your time now. That's why I said to somebody the other day, Born to Move is not a WhatsApp group. You can't bring your Mikeys together and say, we're going to buy Born to Move. It's a single-minded decision. You need to decide that I'm going to move. I want this book. It's not a WhatsApp group. It's not a conference call.
Sure.
I say to people, if you buy the book for yourself and you work through the questions, it's become yours.
It becomes yours.
If you feel like afterwards, Lady S, can I have a coaching session with you? I've answered this question, but I still feel somehow I stuck. It's also an invitation to have further sessions with the reader.
That's so powerful. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, sister watching right now, we have come to the end of this episode, and I want to thank my lady Son, as she is known, and ons het gehoor, een van die dae is 'n dokter.
Ja, asseblief.
Dr. Lady Sonia. Oh, how's it going to be? Dr. S.
Lady S, I like
Lady
Lady
S.
S.
It's unique. It's
That's
unique.
my brand.
Nogal.
I love it. I love
It's
it.
nogal unique.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for opening yourself up to, helping the community. And all that is what this platform is about. Regeneration. That's why it's called the ReGen Show, and this is what we've been doing.
Yes.
Even the branding that we're putting out there. The ReGen Worship is a songwriting movement under ReGen.
Wow.
So we've been also
Amazing,
going
Pastor
around
B.
in helping worship teams to start writing songs in churches. So please follow us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you are notified of the next video. Ladies, thank you once again. Thank you so much. May God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor B.
Ons praat weer. Stay blessed.
Thank you. Bless you.